Anne sat down and felt the heat of embarrassment as Mary slowly combed through her long dark hair, knowing what she'd find. "I've got them too, haven't I?" she asked. "You certainly do, which means you'll have to take these combs and packets of DDT powder back with you to Owlet Farm and treat everyone, including the land girls. I know it's a bind, but we have to get it under control." "I feel so dirty," muttered Anne, resisting once again the terrible urge to scratch. Mary calmly combed the DDT powder through her hair before turning to examine George's. "Lice attack clean hair too," she said, "so there's no shame in it. Just make sure you use the powder as per instructions on the packet, even on those who are yet to be infested, and comb the dead lice and their eggs out onto newspaper every morning and night, and then burn the paper. Prevention's the watchword." "Even the little ones?" "Especially the little ones," Mary said firmly, combing the powder through George's neat brown hair. "Keep it on for as long as possible, and then wash it out with strong coal tar soap. At the first sign of itching, do it all over again." George dipped his chin, clearly as embarrassed as Anne. "It looks as if you'll have your work cut out for the next few weeks, Mary." "Don't I know it?" she said on a sigh. "I'll have to visit every house and farm in the village. I just hope my stock of powder doesn't run out. It's the very devil to get hold of with the rationing so tight and the Bristol supply is constantly under enemy attack." She handed George a finely toothed comb, and he slipped it into his top pocket. "Would you stay for a cup of tea?" he asked. "I don't have time," she said regretfully. "Perhaps after my next visit." She finished packing her medical bag, then headed out into the brisk wind which was scattering leaves across the now deserted playground. "What about you, Anne? Time for a cuppa before you go home?" He looked so wistful that she couldn't refuse, despite the fact that there was a pile of marking to do once she'd treated the children's hair and fed and bathed them ready for bed. "Why not?" she replied, stowing the comb and packet inside her bulging briefcase. "I could do with a sit-down before the evening chaos, and as Sally is working at the village nursery today, she'll take the little ones home." They fetched their coats, hats and gas mask boxes and wrapped up against the raw wind. Then Anne followed his tall figure across the playground towards the tiny cottage provided for the school principal. Squadron leader George Mayhew had once been engaged, but the girl hadn't loved him enough to stick around after he'd been disfigured during the Battle of Britain, when his plane was shot down, and he cut a rather lonely figure around the village. He'd come to Barnham Green 6 months ago, straight from the hospital at East Grinstead, where he'd endured months of skin grafts and rehabilitation under the care of the talented surgeon Archibald Mackindoe, and had taken over as head when the previous incumbent had enlisted in the Navy. There had been some consternation at first, for despite the reconstruction of his face, he was still badly scarred, and although there was great admiration for the man, some of the parents were worried his appearance might frighten the children. To her shame, but like so many others, Anne had been almost afraid to look at the terribly burnt tissue on the left side of his face and the tortured waist of his hand and arm, for fear that he might see how much it affected her. But his quiet command and gentle ways soon put everyone at ease, and after the children's initial stares and open curiosity had been satisfied, they no longer pestered him for stories of his time as a Spitfire pilot and how he'd come to be so injured. Anne glanced across at him now, once again experiencing that twist in her heart as she pictured how handsome he'd once been, and how much he reminded her of Martin, who was no doubt at this very minute putting his life in danger on a bombing mission over Germany. She hastily tamped down on the dark thoughts that plagued her constantly. Her husband would survive. He'd come through. He had to. She blinked back the tears, blaming them on the icy wind, and concentrated on the cottage ahead. Like the other buildings in the village, the 2-bedroom cottage was of mellowed cream stone, with a small front garden which had been turned into a vegetable plot, a sturdy wooden door, and 4 windows overlooking the narrow lane that ran through the village to the nearby hamlets. The thickly entwined branches of wisteria curled over the door and along the wall, leafless now, but a riot of purple droplets in